Hi, my name is Presley Brown, and today we are going to be finding secondary sources for the National Gallery in London, specifically looking at secondary sources analyzing architecture.
The National Gallery is an art museum in Trafalgar Square in central London. The building was designed by William Wilkins from 1832 to 1838. Wilkins' design was criticized for his design being weak and the lack of space in the building. The National Gallery then added an extension named the Stansbury Wing in 1991 that was designed by Robert Venturi and Denise Brown. Now we are going to look at my list of scholarly secondary sources for the National Gallery in London. I have a total of 5 sources, 3 being journal articles and 2 being books. My first source is a book called William Wilkins, 1778 to 1839 by R.W. Liscombe. It is a book located in the Fine Arts and Architecture Library, and it was published in 1980. Now, my second source is a journal called A Gallery Worthy of the British People, James Penthorne's Designs for the National Gallery, 1845 to 1867. It was published in 1990, and it's by Geoffrey Tiack. And the journal article is located on JSTOR. Another journal article located on JSTOR is called From Invention to Convention in Architecture by Robert Venturi, published in 1988, and it's a good journal located on JSTOR. My fourth source is a journal called Contemplation and Congregation in the Popular Urban Art Museum, 2 projects by Venturi, Rausch, and Scott Brown by Janet Abrams. It is located in the UF General Collection, but I actually had to order it, which I will go on more about later in the video. And my final source is a book called A Celebration of Art and Architecture, the National Gallery Stansbury Wing, published in 1991 by Colin Amory. The book is located in the UF Architecture and Fine Arts Library as well. So, to start out finding my journal articles, I will show you my process. I always start at the UF Architecture and Fine Arts Library website, where I can directly access key sources, and I click Art and Architecture source. Now, the 2 keywords that I used were National Gallery, London, and I always added architecture just to specifically get articles that will be talking about the layout of the building and the architecture. So, my first article, A Gallery Worthy of the British People, James Penthorne's Designs for the National Gallery. In the abstract, I immediately saw architectural design, critique of Williams' designs. So I then copied and pasted it into my browser to see if it's on JSTOR or anything like that. And luckily it was on JSTOR. So I have access to it all the time. And there I had access and read it, and it was an awesome source. So now I go back to my search, and I found my second source, but not directly through it. So the Venturi effect, I wanted to see if that was on JSTOR or any other website. So I first read the abstract and saw that it was a proposal of the design, and it talked about the design of the National Gallery. So I copy pasted it into my browser, and I looked up the Venturi Effect National Gallery London article JSTOR and just wanted to see what that was. And instead, I found From Invention to Convention in Architecture. And I read the whole article, and it's an awesome source. It's 15 pages. I have access to it because it's on JSTOR. And the pictures and the sources were awesome. Now I get back again to my original search, and I find my third article. So I tried copying and pasting it into the browser. But this time I have no luck. I don't have access to PDF simply through looking it up on Google. So after meeting at the library with Anne, the librarian, she showed me how to directly access it through a loan. So I made an account, and earlier today I requested the article, and looking now, my request was sent, and Anne informed me that I will be getting it sometime tomorrow. And finally, I will show you how to find my 2 book sources. So I go back to the Architecture and Fine Arts Library website, and this time I use the UF Library's catalog. I again use the same keywords, National Gallery London and architecture. Taking a while to load. Finally, I scrolled through all the options and nothing looked particularly good until I came across the Celebration of Art and Architecture, the National Gallery. So I wrote this down, met with Anne, and I found the book, and super helpful book, lots of information, lots of drawings, and has a whole chapter about the building of the National Gallery. So I went to the library and scanned all of the pages. I think there were over 20 or about 20 pages total. And after looking through all the options, I actually checked out another book that came up on this search, New London Architecture, but it didn't have anything useful about it. So after doing that, Anne actually directed me into looking up the architect, William Wilkins, and using the second keyword, architecture. I searched this and found this book. So it again was in the general collection at the UF Architecture Library. So I went and checked it out, and the book actually describes William's part in building the National Gallery and firsthand and sort of the process, and then has every type of plan from section plans, elevation, every plan you could think of, because they were all Williams. So this book was super resourceful, and thank you, Anne, for directing me to look up the architect. And finally, we have looked at all 5 sources and how I got to find them on the National Gallery.